Kickoff for the 2025 college football season is just around the corner, and these are my best case and worst case scenarios for the South Carolina Gamecocks this season. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. As always, we're powered by our friends over at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. The South Carolina Gamecocks return arguably the best quarterback in all of college football and have their eyes set on getting back to competing for the college football playoff after a 9-3 regular season campaign in 2024. Guys, today we're discussing my best case and worst case scenarios for South Carolina and Shane Beamer in the 2025 season. Guys, we'll start. Let's pull up the schedule. This is always a talking point for South Carolina because it feels like every single year, year in, year out, the Gamecocks face off against one of the toughest schedules in all of college football. Let me also get this out of the way, guys. This is not a prediction. This is simply just my feelings on the ceiling and the floor for South Carolina heading into this season. Of course, you start the big one, the season opener in non-conference play against Virginia Tech in Atlanta, Georgia on that Sunday, actually, August the 31st. There will be a lot of emotions in that one. Obviously, Shane Beamer taking on Va Tech, a place he's an alumni, a place obviously his father is a Hall of Fame coach. So Gamecocks and Hokies in Atlanta could be a little interesting. South Carolina's a double-digit point favorite, I believe, or right near at it. But it could be an interesting game. Gamecocks have struggled in season openers in years past as well. Then the next week, you come back home, you take on South Carolina State non-conference. Then you begin SEC play in week 3. The Vanderbilt Commodores come to town. You're at Mizzou. You get Kentucky at home. You then have a bye week before you travel to LSU in Baton Rouge. And, of course, a rematch of last year's game that was such a thriller. And, of course, many South Carolina fans feel like the Gamecocks got robbed and should have won that football game. Then you take on Oklahoma the following week at home. You have Alabama coming to Williams-Brice Stadium. The next week should be a raucous environment, of course, for that one. You're at Ole Miss. Then you get a bye at Texas A&M, Coastal Carolina, and then you close out, of course, with the rivalry game showdown against the Clemson Tigers. And, of course, guys, why do we talk schedule? Because for each of these individual teams, your ceiling and floor could change based off the type of schedule you have. Of course, not all schedules are built equally. So, I mean, this is a tough schedule. Listen, you're bookending your season with a pair of ACC opponents. I know Virginia Tech's not a great program. I totally get that. But, again, if you followed South Carolina for any length of time and you know how they typically perform in season openers, you know it's not a sure thing, right? It's a game the Gamecocks should win, again, as indicated by the Vegas spread and our friends over at FanDuel, but it's certainly not a kick-in. And then, of course, you close out the season against Clemson, a team that is favored to go to the college ball playoff. They might have the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy in quarterback Cade Klubnik. And then you look at the rest of the SEC slate, guys. I mean, road trips to Missouri, to LSU, to Ole Miss, to Texas A&M. Those are all difficult in their own right. And then Oklahoma and Alabama, of course, the headliners in the home schedule coming to your house. So here's the thing that is interesting with the Gamecocks. When you've got a quarterback like Lenoris Sellers, and certainly there are other pieces, both offensively and defensively, but when you've got a quarterback like Sellers, and that's really where it starts for them, he is the straw, of course, that stirs the drink. You've got a chance in virtually every single game. Like, I don't know if there's a game you look at on the schedule and you say South Carolina just has no chance of winning. I think at LSU is probably the most long shot just because you're going to Death Valley. Who knows what time that game will be, but certainly if that's a night game, it'll be tough. The home game against Clemson to end it's tough, but I mean, you just saw South Carolina beat Clemson literally last season. So I don't think that one's off the table. At Texas A&M, a place that South Carolina has never won before. That one will be difficult. Again, the back-to-back games. And really, guys, the month of October is probably going to define what the Gamecocks are this season, certainly from a are you competing for the college football playoff standpoint at LSU, Oklahoma, and then Alabama to close out the month of, dare I say, October. That being said, guys, my best case and worst case scenarios for South Carolina. Best case, I've got 9-3. Listen, guys, I think with the losses of Rocket Sanders offensively, Joshua Simon at tight end, and what you lost defensively, I think South Carolina with Lenora Sellers can be very dynamic yet again. I think they can be a very exciting football team, a lot of fun to watch. I think they can win some big games. I think they can pull some upsets. I don't think this is a college football playoff team. I don't. I just, guys, and here's what I'll say is this too. If you are picking South Carolina to get to the college football playoff, if you're picking the Gamecocks to go win 10 or more games, that's totally fine. Like, to each their own, the beauties and the banter, have at it with your predictions and your picks. But understand the significance of what you're projecting and what you're predicting. This is a South Carolina program. Like, understand the historical significance. It is a South Carolina program that in the history of the program, they've been playing football over 100 years in Columbia, South Carolina. This is a program that has won 10 or more games in a season 4 times. 4 times in over 100 years of football. Guys, it's a program that's only won 9 or more games in a season 8 times. So I don't care if you're picking the Gamecocks go 10-2 or 11-1, but if you are, understand what the numbers tell you. Understand the rarefied air, the rarefied place we would be in if that happens for the Gamecocks. I'm not saying it's impossible, because in today's college football, I mean, look at last year. Truly anything can happen. But is it probable? No. So with that being said, my best case is 9-3, guys. Again, I think you look at that schedule, tough game against Clemson to close it out, at LSU. I know you get Oklahoma and Bama at home, but are you realistically going to win both of those games? Debatable. You still got to go to Texas A&M. You still got to go to Ole Miss. Like, it is a really, really tough schedule. 9-3 with that schedule. Heck, guys, you could argue just like last year that South Carolina should be in the college ball playoff, even with a 9-3 finish with that schedule. Will it happen? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to get 9-3 teams in the college ball playoff, but you could argue they should. But I think best case for this group, as good as Lenora Sellers is, they lost some key pieces, especially on the defensive side, that I think keep the ceiling below a college football playoff appearance and at least below 10 wins. So best case, I've got 9-3. Worst case, I've got 6-6. Here's the good news, South Carolina fans. I think when you've got a guy like Lenora Sellers, he gives you a chance in every single game. I think that keeps the floor pretty high. So worst case, I've got 6-6. I think at baseline, this is a team that is going to go to a bowl game. I would be absolutely shocked. I'd be shocked if this team fell below the Mendoza line and somehow went 5-7. Granted, as I say that, I think back to the 2023 season. That felt just inexplicable that football team with Spencer Rattler and so many talented players coming off an 8-4 season, 8-5 season with the bowl loss, but 8-4 regular season in 2022 somehow found a way to regress to 5-7. So I guess, is it impossible? No, I think it's very, very, very unlikely. So I think the worst case is 6-6. Listen, this schedule could take a bite out of you. I mean, what if you get upset week 1 against Virginia Tech? What if? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but what if, right? I mean, this conference schedule, this conference slate is brutal. What if Oklahoma is very much improved? What if Alabama is back to being Alabama? LSU is truly the college football playoff contender we think they can be. What if you don't get answers on defense? What if losing Kyle Kennard, both your starting linebackers, and Nick Emanwari is actually a really big deal? What if losing Rocket Sanders? Hey, what if you don't get eligibility for Brazil Faison? Right? That's something in my best case scenario I think happens. I think Faison gets his eligibility. Somebody steps up at the wide receiver 1 spot, right? Maybe Nick Harbor really comes into his own. Michael Smith becomes a star at tight end. Lenora Sellers progresses a little bit as a passer, continues to be that dynamic runner and have that escapability in the pocket. And defensively, right, Dylan Stewart kind of finds the Robin to his Batman on the defensive line, because you lost 3 or 4 up there. You know, some guys like Fred Johnson step up at the linebacker spot. Some dudes you got from the portal you hit on. And a guy like Jelon Kilgore, DQ Smith, those guys, they can carry the secondary, carry the defense in the back end. Again, worst case, guys, all those questions I talked about, they go the other way, right? Defensively, like you lost more than I think people realize, and that comes to fruition. Offensively, Lenoris Sellers is a great player. You could argue he's the best quarterback in the SEC. He's one of the best in the country. He can't do it by himself. He just can't do it. And you saw in the bowl game when you didn't have Rocket Sanders, you didn't have that running game you could lean on. You know, you saw how much different the offense looked. Also, guys, it's South Carolina. Line of scrimmage is a question every single year. What if the offensive line isn't very good again? Because it wasn't great last year. I mean, you ran the ball effectively, but it was still very hit or miss. What if the offensive line continues to struggle, right? What if you can't push people around and get a push on a week-in, week-out basis in the SEC? Defensively especially, losing 3 or 4 in your defensive line. What if you struggle up there? I know you got Dylan Stewart. I mean, both sides of the ball, guys, Lenoris Sellers, Dylan Stewart, 2 of the best in college ball, but they need help. They need other guys around them to step up. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. That's why I come down to my best case, worst case. So again, guys, best case scenario for the Gamecocks, I've got 9-3. Worst case scenario, I've got 6-6. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? What's your best case, worst case for South Carolina football entering the 2025 season? Guys, that's going to do it all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Before we get out of here, though, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel, because as always, we're brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Guys, FanDuel Sportsbook is here to help you make every moment more. The app is safe, secure, and easy to use. Guys, if you already have an account, FanDuel Sportsbook offers great promotions every day to all users with things like Profit Boost tokens, new features like Parlay Hub. You can build your own same-game parlay or choose from one of the popular SGPs already made for you in the Parlay Hub. Guys, if you have not signed up today, you want to make sure you do so over at FanDuel.com/SECU. That's FanDuel.com/SECU to get your $250 deposit bonus when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU and get into the action with offers you won't want to miss. Everything from college football, college basketball, NHL, NBA, NFL, fight night, you name it, they've got it. Prop plays, parlays, over-unders, totals, spreads, anything you can think of. Our friends over at FanDuel's got you covered. So again, just make sure when you play, you visit FanDuel.com/SECU. That's FanDuel.com/SECU to get your $250 deposit bonus today when you win your first $5 bet. Guys, again, that's going to do it all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Till next time, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you on through the top.